Welcome to the Moon God Pod Year in Review. Got a real special episode today. Of course, with me always is JwowLax, and we're going to be tackling the year in review. And we thought, who better to bring in for the last episode of 2022 than the guy that kicked it off, Aramunu. Gentlemen, want to welcome you this morning on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, but the best podcast of the year.
Woohoo! Excited to be back.
I don't
Been
have
a crazy year.
I don't have a signature noise, but man, it's lovely to be here and talk about the Aku year in review. Can't wait to kick it off.
I think the best way to begin this is to just kind of think back to where we were at this time last year, like getting ready to go into 2022. We were just coming off of Art Basel, like we are kind of right now, and we were on the verge of becoming moon gods. We found out that on the anniversary in February that would be when Chapter 10 would be released, and we would become moon gods. So I want to start right there and say, one, what was your expectation knowing that we were so close to becoming moon gods? Like, what did you think that kind of entailed? And has it kind of lived up at all, maybe more to your expectation over the course of this last year?
Man, what a loaded question.
I see the thunder this morning.
Yeah, no, JwowLax unmuted, so I'm gonna let him go first.
Oh, so you're gonna stick me with this?
Yeah, exactly. You saved me, so thank you.
That.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm a guy that lives life with minimal expectations because I know what it's like to think about things and to have preconceived notions. So I would say that I didn't have any kind of I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what that meant. And if I can be candid, I would say it's just okay in my mind. I think of exclusive membership, I think of exclusive items, and I think some of that has definitely come through. But I feel that Moon Gods in a whole, I'd love like a T-shirt or specified merch limited to Moon Gods, or certain things that only Moon Gods can attain, and I don't necessarily know if I feel that. I obviously, the Discord is nice; it's an interesting place, but I would say overall, for me in particular, I give it a 7 out of 10.
I love the honesty. Let me see. I think, like, from my perspective, I'm the kind of person who's like, especially for something new, I'm like, let's go. So I had huge expectations for this. Like, you call it Moon God, like, let's go to the moon, right? Like, that was my expectation coming out of the gate. I would say 1 year later, there's been a lot of highs and lows, right? So I think, like, the process of becoming a moon god, I think it was actually very good. And the reason for that is chapter after chapter, it was just exciting. Hey, I'm going to be a part of this really exclusive club with this IP that I really, really like, right? I think in the first episode, I was saying, like, when I first saw Aku, I fell in love. That was going to be a next Spider-Man, Mickey, etc. So after chapter 3, you got a free chapter 4, which is dope, right? Because we all paid $1,000 for each of the first 3 chapters. And then after 5, 6, 7, you got at least one chapter 8. I was like, oh, cool. Like, dude, that's kind of the reward system, right? And I think when you got all 10 chapters, it was like super excitement for me. I was like, oh shit, like, I'm the top tier in this project and want to get a lot of rewards. And I think the rewards did continue because we all got a whole bunch of Akutars, right? And it was like, wow, great club, raining money, project looks great. So I think that was like kind of like a high at the time. I believe many people are thinking about like Gen Wealth with all this stuff. I'm not gonna name any names, but it's probably many of us.
Yeah.
And then I think in the later half of the year, there were like a lot of challenges, right? Obviously, the contract error, there was a little bit lack of continuity between the Akutars and the brand partners. And I think the team honestly spread themselves out just a little bit too thin with the idea of just like going really, really big. And really big with brand partners and working with Disney with the DFS stuff, with all the dominoes that were supposed to drop this year. And I think what happened in the second half of the year was there was a kind of a handoff to Roger. Roger's amazing, greatest orator in the space, bar none, in my opinion. But I think that kind of handoff made the Moon Gods status and opportunities kind of drop off a little bit. So, summing it all up, lots of highs, a whole bunch of lows, and I guess some arbitrary number. Let's call it 7 out of 10. Also,
So
just latching it. Yeah. Yeah. Go
if
ahead.
I can interrupt,
No, go ahead.
specifically speaking from a Moon God perspective, outside of the MOGs, can you think of any other Moon God specific thing that was awarded to us?
Moon God. I mean, I think like.
Well, we got
think
chapter 3. We got
Yeah.
that. There's the one the Mega OG chapter
This is true.
that we did get dropped.
Yeah. But that's MOG, right? Like if you have an MOG,
Well,
that's
but
not
you
Moon
did-
God.
And you would have pretty much like the people that got it were Moon Gods. Like it kind of there's only a handful of megas I think by that time that had really exchanged.
Yeah.
And
I look at them. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and whoever did kind of unleash their megas onto the market, I would assume already had like a mega, like they didn't lose their Moon God status, and they didn't like they still had like a mega in reserve. Like, like I think all three of us had multiples. So if you sold one, you still kind of reaped the benefit, in the aggregate.
Yeah, I mean, I look at them as different. Like in my opinion, like there's Moon God status, and then there's like MOGs. Like you have the megas. So I feel like the mega chapter is a MOG benefit and not a Moon God benefit. So to LoveVox's question, I would not consider that as a benefit for being a Moon God. The benefit of being a Moon God is actually the access to the channel. In my opinion, within Discord, you have all the chapters, you get promoted to the Moon God channel. And in the past, intense amount of interaction with Micah. Like it was totally amazing to me that like in my mind, I'm fantasizing all the time, right? I'm talking to like the next Disney, right? The next Walt Disney who's gonna make this like, build worlds around dreams, generational character. And here he is saying, hey, I'm thinking about, all right, I'm gonna release some alpha, or previous alpha. Hey, I'm thinking of making an Aku token. And then everyone's talking about the Aku token. I was like, holy shit, like this is amazing. It got he went another direction ultimately due to security stuff. But he originally talked about that within that channel. And there's other stuff as well, like before he released the Akutars, he showed pictures of the Akutars first to the community. I was like, oh shit, like I actually have the opportunity to actually make an impact and tell him, like, give him my opinion on how to build this.
Let's circle back to that, because
okay.
So first, I want to put in my 2 cents. I'll give it a 6.8 out of 10. I think so. My first thought was when we became Moon Gods, like I've always, and I've said this many times, I felt like it was an ultimate mastermind, and that actually, in a couple years, that will actually hold like some crazy value, because as the Moon God, cost of entry, what we thought was going to like continue to increase, because at one point, chapter 8's going for 80,000. So like in order to be a Moon God, it was well over 100,000. Well, if you get to like, speaking crazy, like if it was $1 million to get into that mastermind, the people that are willing to pay for it, imagine like the minds that are in that group, and would be, if you're putting up $1 million to be a part of something, then you're going to be very active. And so that's what I've always kind of thought was the ultimate value to being a moon god. Now, with that said, I feel like we had this build up and we became moon gods, and I wanted two things, little things. Like, I thought we 100% should have had like some kind of party meetup to celebrate all the moon gods. And now, of course, everyone couldn't have made it, but like LA, New York, Chicago, like some kind of just like we're going to have like this kind of special night, where we are all together and celebrate moon gods. And like, the hoodies seem to be the staple in this community, like to kind of show your flex. So having like just a hoodie that said I'm a moon god or something like that, wherever I go, to NFT NYC, Art Basel, V Friends, anything that I go, I can wear that, and people will know that not only am I supporting Aku, but I'm one of the guys. Like that's kind of like a cool flex and something I'll be very proud of. With all that said, I think that there was just this rush to get to the Akutars, and so it's kind of like we became moon gods, and then like the next day it was like on to the next. And I think that the rewards that you got by getting the mega OGs, I think the OG backgrounds fell very short of what they were supposed to be. Like they were kind of like, if you use the apes as a comparison, it was kind of like mega OGs would be like the Bored Ape, the mutants would have been the OGs, and then like the regulars would have been the Kennel Club or something. That it would have been tiered, but we've seen that the tiers and the rarities didn't really work.
But I would say, in fairness to them, I think they realize that this is an opportunity we must take advantage of, right? So they're seeing the PFP boom, and they're seeing a way to inject capital in this project in a way that honestly we've never seen before with anything, right? So I'm sure they did their background calculations, and to your point, I think mistakes were made along the way. Maybe there are things that could have been done better in regards to tiers, but I would say at that time they say we don't have a lot of time to capitalize on this. We know we want these fully rigged. We know we know we want automation capabilities in the future.
Mhm.
What can we do now in the moment? Sorry for the interruption. That's just a thought.
No. I mean, that's exactly right. Like in fact, like I would have said, like, hell, you probably should have put the Akutars out before we even became moon gods, because the timing that we know in this space is everything. I mean, there are crap projects that came out before us that still have higher floor prices with not even a tenth of what we know with Aku and like the vision and the team behind it, that are still crushing us. I also think so circling back about how in the Moon God we got this first view of all these amazing Akutars, I think it really hurt my soul seeing them because they were so amazing, but we were seeing the very, very best. I would have been better off seeing the peanut butter and jelly and spaghetti helmets first, and then on mint day, when on reveal day, then seeing like these bangers, because then when we got the ones, when they were distributed, I didn't hit a lot, I didn't hit the rarity lottery at all, and so I had this high expectation, the Michael Jackson one, and the hoodie that's completely like zipped up, the yellow one, or there was just there's handmade ones, and I believe you have one, don't you? Did you get a handmade one, Aramunu?
Yeah. I just got the BBC one, which is just straight fire. To be honest, I didn't win the lottery, if you will, for any handmaids, but I just picked one up after like months.
It's funny you say that because I had 49 tries. 49 tries. 49. I'm gonna say it again. I'm sure you probably had more. I had 49 tries, and I came out with like 3 family trades. Hashtag failed on that one.
Yeah. When I got the airdrops, I was like, what the F? Like, how did I not get it? And there's all these people that like don't like Aku. They have one min pass, and I'm stalking these people's wallets and like cursing like out loud in my office. Like, how did this person who doesn't care about the project get the thing. But you know, like at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? Well, more power to them. But like, I feel you.
Bro,
When you don't win the lottery.
I turned on 3 guys right when the passes came out, and they got like they picked up a chapter, got their pass. So they got 3 guys, got one Akutar each. One guy, this I'm happy for me, like 21-year-old kid. Shout out to my boy Shane. He gets like the old school pilot helmet planes trait, and then like my other guy gets like the Michael Jackson, red leather outfit. And then I forget what the third one was, but like all 3 of them more rare than everything that I got. And I was like,
yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah, I had to do my gratitude exercises after that. Like, I'm thankful for what I have, and just start crying.
So
yeah.
So let's kind of keep going. Like, I mean, you kind of, Armani, you kind of ran through the whole year basically. We come out of the mint. We have the contract issue. So, I 100% thought, like, even with the mint passes, that there was a strong chance, and we use poker terms all the time on here, like, that ace on the river hit and crushed us. But I really thought that we had so much momentum, so much hype, that there was a good chance that the valuation for everything when it came out was going to possibly 2-3x. Obviously that didn't happen. I want to kind of move to like just how the dominoes fell. How important do you guys think the other side drop was, not just in direct response to Aku, but just draining so much from the NFT community? And then that kind of seemed to be like the last spark, and then everything has just kind of gone. I mean, kind of gone to shit since that. How effective or impactful was that it, or was there something else that I'm missing?
So at that time, there was also Moonbirds, and then you have the other side, and you're talking about literally 2 of the largest NFT events in terms of pricing that we've seen, like in the history of NFTs. Like 2 of those surrounded the Aku drop. So in terms of outright timing, it was bad. I mean, they didn't know that, right? But if you take those 2 monumental events, and then we have our drop, and it's hard to compete in that space. So given everything that was going on at that particular time, I think the fact that those mint prices got what they were, I think it's outstanding. So just that in and of itself, the timing, given every other thing going on, I still think we did a fantastic job, leading to the contract error situation.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same. I mean, the other side sucked a lot of money out of the ecosystem. I mean, like, looking at what people are paying just in gas to get the other side pieces was nuts. As JwowLax mentioned, the Moonbirds thing had an effect, but it had an effect on the market. But I just like to look at, like, okay, what is this project doing? Even though the other things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to, it had an effect, but like I really don't think too much about other side and Moonbirds. It's like, what are you doing in this market?
And I think so. Right close around to that time, I believe too, is when Roger comes on board, and I mean, you nailed it. Like, he is very eloquent. He's a great spokesperson. It's kind of funny. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, Thank You for Not Smoking, with Aaron Eckhart. But like in that movie, he's the spokesperson for Big Tobacco, and every time Big Tobacco gets like attacked, he just spins it and makes he just makes the Crusaders look like idiots and Big Tobacco like a hero. I'm not saying Roger's like that at all, but he's very good at just articulating, answering questions. I do think that it's a tough task because, one thing we always get is it's kind of like, wait till next week. We've got some big stuff coming up, and like that's kind of difficult. Like you had mentioned, Aramunu, like the token. I remember when Chapter 5 was coming out, and there was this mention of the role model, and if you leave idle minds to, speculate, we were like, is it going to be LeBron? There was a picture on Instagram of Micah going on like in a black SUV on a PJ, and we're like, we're like, he's meeting with like Elon Musk or something crazy. Like there needs to be, I don't know how that works where you kind of curtail it, so we don't go too overboard with our speculation. I even go back to the 100 eyeballs or 100 million eyeballs, which I think we've all agreed was Time Magazine. But again, that was a timing situation. If it had come out right when, like the drop was happening and the minting, then that would have been even massive. But it comes out in the summer after so much had gone on.
I guess in review, I think a lot of those items were meant to engage outside of the community to draw hype and to bring excitement. But I think for some reason our reach was only contained to the community, so we never really got the benefit of some of those cryptic messages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now so I'm going to start like segueing into 2023. What do we expect from Instagram, this Instagram partnership, and what does that kind of all mean? Like I'll preface this by telling you what my concern is. My concern is that it is something similar to like VeeFriends, where they did 3 different NFTs, the Star Boys, and I think it was just something to kind of connect the two communities. I don't think it was really executed very well. But I hope that whatever is with Instagram is not like that. And I also think that we're actually not going to be connected. I think it's going to be something kind of independent. And I hope that there's some kind of benefit to being certainly a moon god, but at least like some kind of a coup holder. But my fear is kind of like it's going to be its own separate thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess tying into the last thing that we talked about, like I'm one to just like fantasize, right? So I've kind of learned over the last year to just like, okay, like ask about it. And if there isn't a clear message, like don't try to like assume too much. Because like every time I've like assumed, like I try to read into that cryptic message, it's like there's some kind of like pain in the end, right? Whether it's like my expectations were too high or I made some like humongous financial moves. I'm happy to like dive into that, but like
Nice.
with the
Go off the top rope, buddy.
So all right. So let's talk about so Micah. I'll start with Micah and then get to Roger and then talk about my moves, right? Micah is like, you need to decrypt everything he says. He's like, to me, like what all the like spaces, he's always like saying something and you gotta like decrypt it. And for me, like I'm nuts, right? So I've read everything, like every line, every message in the Moon God channel, I've read at least twice. I've watched every interview of Micah at least twice. Every spaces, like you see me doing all these tweet threads, I've listened to him at least twice. So I'm like decrypting like like all year long. And I make lots of moves just based on like interpretations. And a lot of times it's like really bit me in the ass. We'll see if it pays off. So I made a big move recently and we'll see if it pays off. So this is kind of like a real time thing, right? So and I'm actually able to talk about this because like it's now more public and maybe it's like kind of alpha. But Micah originally in the Moon God channel was saying, hey, we're thinking about making this like concept of like a Aku trading post or like a burn or something like that, right? And then like so he first like started talking about that and I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, like what does that actually mean? He's kind of refining the concept, and then Roger starts like talking about it in public, right? So either through the spaces and then people start asking about it. So like Ambis was like asking about it, like when burn. So from the first time that Micah hinted at it, I bought a whole bunch of chapters. When Roger started talking about it in the spaces, I swept more chapters. As people started asking about it, I sweat more chapters. From the first time that you talked about it till now, I've bought about 100 chapters.
Sir, yes, sir, yes, yes,
Look at my
yes,
wallet. I'm not even like
yes,
bullshitting. Look at my
yes,
wallet. Look at the
yes.
ether skin. I just sweep every time they open their mouth. 10 chapters goes into my wallet. So like, okay, and this is kind of like the ecosystem right now because it's like, and here's where some of the pain comes in, right? Because this is like, oh, 100 billion eyeballs, or like, we got to do this thing, we're going to the moon. You know, you do a thing and it doesn't fully like get there, and you're like, fuck, I'm an idiot. Like, all this I put in, I could have put into like this other thing and like had gen wealth. So here we are today. I've listened to the alpha, I've read in between the lines, I made some moves, and kind of here we are. All right, now I'll pause because otherwise I'll go on the tangent.
I'm not looking in your wallet, sir. No.
Okay, please don't.
I'm not trying to
But
get.
I'm just trying to say you can't lie about the blockchain.
No.
But here we are.
Yeah, I kind of the Da Vinci Mica code is real. You know, like I try and really read the tea leaves. I kind of when Summer talks, like I feel like Summer kind of is a little more like that's kind of the direction I'll go. It's like I'll listen a little more to him because Mike is like a little kid sometimes. Like he gets so excited about stuff, and it's beautiful to see, like and that genuine passion and all. Whereas Summer, I think, is sometimes the voice of reason and kind of pumps the brakes a lot. So I kind of put a little bit more stock when she speaks. And then Roger, you know, Roger's got a command of the English language. So there's definitely, like you're saying, like I have to kind of like, wait, let me listen to that again. Like is there something that he's kind of double talking or speaking that I can read into? I look at, where we're going in 2023. I think that there's something that has to happen in the overall picture outside of Aku. I look at what just happened with the Trump drop, 45,000 NFTs. Now, granted, they were only $100, which, that's just my NFT brain being, ludicrous on price valuations. But he sold 45,000 NFTs, $4.5 million. And then the secondary, it pumped all the way to like 7-8x. It since has come down, but there's still people in the space, like I mean that's a lot of money to be moving, so there's still activity. But how do I think history has kind of shown in the last couple, at least 2-3 springs, that January, February, March is usually kind of like the high, of the year. And I really wonder if that's going to be the same for this year.
Well, I think we'll continue on the downward trajectory toward the end of the year, given the tax harvesting that folks are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, how do we recapture that magic, so to speak? And I think, one thing that Aramunu, I probably mispronounced that, slapping myself on the hand there.
That's
He eloquently said was
Munu.
Aramunu.
There you go. There you
Aramunu.
go.
He pointed out that the chapter thing was fantastic because it gave us something to look forward to over a longer period of time. So everybody became committed to becoming a moon god. Then you throw in, hey, we're also going to get some Akutars. It was fantastic for the ecosystem. Now, what can we do along the same lines that's going to basically capture the imagination of the community and bring new folks in? I believe the message for 2023 is, onboarding new people into the ecosystem. I know you mentioned the Instagram thing. My thought would be, it's just going to bring more attention to, what we have going on. Now, in my opinion, I don't think we're far away. It's just we're one spark away from a baby wildfire, maybe 2 sparks away from lighting the entire forest on fire. I don't think we're that far away. I just don't. Now, what's going to be the catalyst to kind of bring everything together? I am hopeful. I'll say that if you ask me, what is why am I bullish in the project? For me, it simply boils down to Micah. I feel like somehow, some way, even it's some obscure thing that we're not thinking of, he's going to find a way to kind of get this whole thing like together and then get it going. Not to say that we're not in a great direction, but to really kind of like see this thing through. That's kind of my initial thought anyway.
I look at the Draymond Green piece that just was released. The last time I checked, it was only at 6,000 views, which is a little disappointing. It's got nothing to do with Micah. It's got more to do with like, I kind of thought maybe Draymond Green was a little more popular than that, and certainly being, what is it with the uninterrupted? Like, it's like, man, they there seems to be had been a break in that in their machine as far as like promoting. I thought that it was pretty cool, but like Micah was given a disservice because the production of that was so flawed. Like
It was so bad.
Every
so
time
bad.
he had an opportunity to talk, like if someone
Yeah.
sits there and says, "I lost $30 million," like stop the show.
Yeah.
I'm
That
putting
part
my
killed
shoulders
me.
down,
Like he didn't even clarify. Like I watched that, I was like, holy shit, like I can't believe he just got interrupted
yeah,
without fully explaining that.
I made $1 million in 1 minute. Cool, domino. Whoa, shut up. Like, and Ross was kind of, we know Micah is super humble, and so Ross was kind of the one like pushing it more than even Micah. But like, man, you got 45 minutes, like that's from a production standpoint of just Draymond's show. Like they need to really revisit that, and
Dude,
that was kind of tough.
you gotta get him on this show. You should do a domino show with Micah. Both of you. Dude, that would kick ass. Do a domino show. The questions will be amazing.
That would be amazing. I would want to win. Also one thing that I think we have to acknowledge, and I feel like it's like the dirty NFT secret because everybody throws around the word community, right?
Yeah.
What is the common binding theme of community? It's money. It's cash. It's profit. It's seeing stuff go up. Like, and I think we're fooling ourselves when we don't acknowledge that and really try to embrace that as how important it is in the building of community. All the feel good stuff, like that's okay too, but there is a financial component that must be talked about and understood and even harnessed, in my opinion.
Is it like locker rooms? Because like think about like I listen to a lot of basketball podcasts, and the Knuckleheads with Quentin Richardson, talking about his days with the Knicks, and every time some new guy came in when he was on the Knicks, and they're like, "Oh man, we're gonna light it up! Look at our squad," and they're like, "You don't know how this operates. Like we suck." That's not Aku, but a losing locker room is not nearly as fun. Like you might be family, but it's not nearly as fun as being in a winning locker room. And so, the Discord was on fire, like when Moon Gods happened, like that, like spring into the minting, like that was the best time to be in the Discord. Yeah. Now it kind of feels like a little bit of like the Discord was in the early days when we were all kind of hanging out and having a good time, but like I want to be in the winning locker room.
No sugarcoating. It does feel like a losing locker room at times, right? Like you bought all these, like you have these Akutars, you bought the chapters, and it's kind of like down only from April. And as JwowLax said, I'm not buying 150 chapters, 100 Akutars, a statue because I just like the picture, right? Like I expect to be Dingaling is in the community, so I'm not, but like I expect to be the Dingaling of Aku. Like that's my goal, and I want $10 million plus in the future for all my assets. No lie. And all of this is a bet, right? I'm not buying it just because I love Aku. I love the community. I love you guys. I love the Moon Gods. I love the community. I think we have a great community. But the financial component, no lie, is very, very important to me. And I'm making this bet on Micah and team because I think there'll be a huge payoff.
Mhm.
in the end. And in my eyes, I have a watch list on OpenSea, which includes all the chapters, Akutars, Doodles, Clonex, Azuki, etc. And every week or two, I look at the differential between us and Clonex and Doodles, and it's 20x. I'm like that's potential.
Mhm.
That's at least the potential when Micah and team figures it out. And honestly, they haven't, right? Our belief in Micah, 9 or 10 out of 10,
Mm.
right? Execution, probably like 5 out of 10 if I were to like rate it, like out of all the things that were done this year. So you take the average, and I think that's why the sense is like, oh yeah, 6.8 out of 10 or like 7.5 out of 10. Because we believe in him and what he's building and how he always rewards the community. But this year just hasn't like hit exactly where they or we wanted to be. I felt like
And
I
to
went
steal
on
the
a rant
moderator
there.
mic really quick, one
Oh, go
thing
ahead, go
that,
ahead.
yeah, one thing I'm gonna just snatch it from you two guys. In my personal job, we'll come up, we have forums, we have, our arguments may come up. So my question I pose to both of you is, what is one actionable item in your mind that can be done today that kind of changes the course of where we are right now? JWoww, I'm going to pass the microphone to you.
I think the number one thing, it, like I believe that the most important element actually in this space is more just hype and and there's too many projects that are like crazy priced that really I don't feel like even come close to like the potential, the mechanics, the roadmap, if you will. So what I would like to see that I think would be the game changer is all these guys that we know that are affiliated, LeBron, KD, Jay-Z, Pharrell, like come out and sit there and say like not necessarily, they don't have to change their profile picture or anything, but kind of a call to action. Because if one thing that we always say in this is more than just a project, it's a movement, and the importance of how Aku like should be like like a relatable Black Panther, and if all these things are so important, then why are they should be important to these big partner names. And that's what I would like to see. I would like to see LeBron, and KD or Jay-Z, those big names sit there and come out and say how important this Aku character is, for culture. And if they did that, I think like how hard would it be like for LeBron to sit there and get all the Lakers to sit there and buy, hey, let's all become moon gods, like we believe in this, that's the one thing that baffles me more than ever, and it would change the complete game. Because if you told me that LeBron James was a moon god, are you kidding me? Like that, like and you've got a chance to be in the Moon God channel with 500 people, and LeBron's in there, and KD and Jay-Z, even if they're not active, but like you're in that club, that's my big take. Aramunu.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great insight. I have the same insight as well. And like, I think it's kind of inevitable at some point. LeBron James, Steph Curry, all the athletes, Snoop Dogg, they eventually get an Akitar. And I'm just like, I hurt inside certain days when they don't have it, but I kind of see it as inevitable. To answer Lovox's question, like what is something that they could do today? I'd say like communication and prioritization, right? I don't care how big the thing is or how small it is. It's prioritize what the project is doing and communicate it very clearly to the audience. And if they do that week after week and deliver, then we're it's just got to be inevitable. Like winning is gonna be inevitable, right? But I think like the problem that I had in the past is like too many things were prioritized and they weren't communicated well. Everyone gets disappointed. Even like the biggest believers start to waver in their belief in the project. So if there was one thing, just like prioritize what you're doing. I don't care what it is, communicate it clearly. and then hit up and then deliver it.
Love
Lovox, what about you?
I want a t-shirt with an astronaut helmet, and I want a classic Aku t-shirt, and I want to give it
Mm.
to all the supporters. So when we see these NBA players, they have their crazy outfits on and they're walking in the catwalk, why can't one of those have an Aku t-shirt on? I think that's very easy. I want, again, very classic, very clean, nothing. Just give me the blue jeans, give me the white shirt, give me the yellow backpack, give me the helmet, and just a logo, and I want to see somebody important with that T-shirt on. I give credit to Ross during the interview for having, the Aku paraphernalia. Love that, but I would like to see that. I would like to, let's. This is, I don't know if I can say this in the podcast, but let's put our nuts on the table and say we have a fantastic IP. We have this once in a generational character. Then let's leverage our partners. Let's really start to demand more of them. I think it's been kind of a soft, like, hey, they kind of help us when they help us, and no, not anymore. Like, we need your help. We need to get this thing going, and we demand certain things from you. So
Say it with
I,
your chest.
I say it with your chest. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, really be prideful. Sometimes you just got to put it all out there, right? Sometimes you just got to say, this is kind of what it is, and this is what I need, and I'm not afraid to put that out there. And I feel like a lot of times we've been very meek in communicating that message where we have a great message. So, like, just put it out there and demand it, and let everything kind of fall in place.
We were talking about community and like the realness, if you will, of community. And I think what's different between Aku and these fake communities, like that when floor price is great, oh, the community is amazing. When floor price sucks, like it's a ghost town. Here, the difference with Aku to me is like I kind of sometimes when I'm talking about it or explain it to someone, I kind of have an emotional response because I do relate to Aku. I like when I watch. We were talking about this the other day, Lovox, about like when's the last time you watched a chapter, and I'd say at least once a week I watch a chapter. It just kind of pops up into my mind, or I'm searching, and it's like I just watch it, and like in chapter 3 when he's sitting alone in his room, I relate to that. Like I relate to being like that kid sitting in your room and stuff, and like there's a bit of this like isolation and trying to find yourself, you know, the diversity, in the in how it doesn't matter what you look like, you can relate to this character. We're trying to, like the way the culture is and society is, like this is kind of it's needed. So like I'm passionate about that, and that's why like I don't want, like my real feeling is like, yeah, like if LeBron, really gave it like a good push and a call to action for it, of course it would help my wallet. But I also believe that it's something that needs to be out there. Like, is there any character in the Disney, universe or mainstream that is as relatable as Aku? And I don't, I don't relate to Spider-Man or Encanto or Prince Eric. I don't relate to those, but I can relate to this guy and Pixar. Like that would be a great a great thing. Like it's there. And he shuts it down. Left everyone speechless.
Mic drop.
um so let's kind of start winding down a little bit. 2023, we've kind of touched on what we would like to see. Let's look at just with what's happened with the FTX, and I want to preface this by saying that the FTX, in my opinion, was not a crypto thing. It was connected to crypto, but it was a scammer. It was like Bernie Madoff, and I think that hopefully people will disassociate crypto from the FTX. Probably not going to happen. But how does the overall NFT space like really kind of recover? Is it merely just like an economical and the recession type thing? Or is there like this idea of branding as instead of NFT digital collectibles? is there kind of a secret sauce that turned around, or is this just an overall global issue that just like real estate, stocks, everything's being affected? So like we always say, all boats rise with the tide.
I think it's a macro issue, right? So we have, I mean, everything is down. Like I've been following vehicle prices, for a while now, and they're all falling. And then you're seeing with the rising of interest rates, it's going to put downward pressure on prices. Now, I would argue that NFTs are, an exotic disposable asset, right? So we're very much going to be affected by the economy. So if we're going to, if we want prices to turn around, I think there is some economic factors that are in play. Now, you say FTX is not necessarily a crypto issue. Well, I think it is because it's a perception, right? So people already have a perception of crypto in their minds, and I think all that does is it solidifies it. Now, I'm as bullish on crypto as anybody. Like I feel like in time, everything is going to solidify itself and be okay. It's just it's just one of those cycles that we all have to go through. So, I guess to answer your question. Um, we are affected by market factors, and it will take time for the NFT space overall to recover. But that doesn't mean that some of the things that we talked about today can't be implemented to have kind of a more solid foundation going forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna dovetail on that. Like who knows when the bull market's gonna come back? Q2 next year, 5 years from now? Like I don't think anyone really knows. But like even if it's a real, let's say we get a really bad market, like the projects can keep building, right? Like as long as like they have a vision, it doesn't have to be huge, like big every year until the bull market, but as long as they're building, there's going to be ways to build in a bear market, even if it, as JwowLax said, as simple as getting people who want the t-shirts a t-shirt. I'd be happy with a t-shirt. I don't need a huge Aku helmet I could go into and print NFTs every year.
Yeah.
Like, give me a t-shirt. I'll be happy. I'll be happy. Like if the market sucks out there, no one has any money, give me a t-shirt. When it's Gen Wealth time, give me the other thing.
What's funny is like when you look at like championship jackets, like the Hall of Fame jacket is like that mustard yellow, the green jacket for Augusta for the Masters, like those are pretty ugly jackets. But boy, if you wear one of those, because you know how you got them, like that's the ultimate flex. And while again, like it's just a t-shirt, like you know when you see, I don't know if you guys really do that, but like I definitely have noticed like when someone sees someone wearing like a Bored Ape hoodie, it's always kind of like, oh whoa, there's an ape, you know. There's only 500 moon gods, and I think that like for sure we would be proud and like we would wear like something that signifies like moon god, and that would be like I would walk in a couple inches taller, to any NFT room or something like that, like you know, like kind of flexing. I'm down with that. So, um, yeah,
I think like that, like as I like to say, I like to fantasize. Like I think that's inevitable. It's truly is inevitable. One day we're gonna have this cool Aku hoodie, and people be like, "Oh shit, that is hot,"
yeah,
and only moon gods can have it. That's inevitable. Like to get there, the teams just gotta execute.
yeah.
I don't know, is that 6 months, a year, 5 years? But like to me, that being in that position is inevitable.
I would even buy it. Like if you like
Oh yeah.
whatever the cost, if it's like $30 for shipping and handling and the cost of making it, that's fine. What again, like that, like we're asking for something very simple as a bonus. Um, so 2023 on a personal note, uh, what is I want to go two ways with this. I want to know, do you have like a travel destination type of goal for 2023? And then what's kind of like just like a personal interesting goal that you have? Don't I mean like let's kind of be a little creative and outside the box. Like I don't want to hear that, oh, I'm gonna walk a mile every day, but uh so travel 2023 travel option like goal and a personal goal. Aramunu, Munu.
Yeah. So travel goal, Hawaii.
Have you been?
I've been in Hawaii. I got married in Hawaii
Okay.
about 13 years ago at this point. Last year I decided that every summer I'm gonna not work and I'm gonna travel to Hawaii. So that's a big goal, right? Like obviously it ain't free. I'm not made out of money, so I gotta work. I gotta work hard, and I gotta meet that goal. I went with my family this year, and it was amazing.
What's your
Uh,
island of choice?
so Waikiki,
Okay.
really like it. And and for me, I like my default state is chill. I love to do nothing. So spent about 2 weeks there with my family, and it was just beautiful. It costs a bajillion dollars, so it's a goal for me to have in 2023 to spend more time with my family. So I run a tech consulting company. It's my own company. I've been doing it about 2 to 3 years now,
Mhm.
and lots of ups and downs. Obviously, in 2022, the tech market was horrific. So I'm suffering the brunt of that a bit. So goal for 2023 doesn't matter what the market is doing. I'm gonna put my head down, do the best that I can, and still achieve the best of my ability. And if I do, gonna prosper and hopefully be able to hit that travel goal.
Well, Hawaii has hands down the best ahi I've ever
Mm,
had. I went to a wedding and they legit pulled a fish out of the water for the
whew,
reception and just
nice.
gutted it right there, and it was like eating butter. It was so good. Lovox, where are you heading? Malta? We're going back to Malta,
It's
Gulliver's?
funny. It's funny. Yeah, Malta was definitely probably the career highlight travel of the last 10 years I've had. So this year it's going to be scaled back. I think I want to go to Cuba. I've kind of had it on my mind for a while, and then when we interviewed Glitch, he kind of brought it back to the forefront of my memory. So I'm going to spend a couple of days in Cuba. In regards to a personal goal, I don't. You know what? I want to. Yeah, I want to play in the World Series of Poker. So I want to buy in for
Oh,
the big buy-in,
nice.
and have. Do you know if a non has a person of color ever won the World Series of Poker before, Mr. Jason, the big one?
Well, define person of color. Do you mean black or just not white?
What about black? Any black people ever won it before?
Black guy win the World Series. I don't think a black guy has. Definitely Asian.
That would
Asian.
be that would be a
Yeah,
fantastic goal to have. Even though I don't play tournaments, so that's kind of a problem. But
yeah.
just to kind of play and to compete and maybe cash, bag some chips, I think that would be a pretty interesting goal to have.
Yeah, I don't think a black guy has ever won.
What
Uh,
about final table? Did Phil Ivey ever make the final
yeah,
table
Bill
before?
Ivey made the final table for
He
sure.
did. Okay.
Oh, was he? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think David Williams has made a final table.
Yeah, he
I
was
remember David
second to Greg
Williams.
Raymer. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the closest. So
Whatever happened to him?
he's rich. I mean, one thing, like I played um for almost 10 years on every year at the World Series since '07, '08. Um I met a guy named Doc Sands, and when I first played against him, I actually knocked him out of a tournament at the World Series, and he was ranked number one. And they actually did a write up on Poker News, and I didn't even know who the guy was because he was the number one online player. And I bring this up because we actually had kind of had some conversations and had mutual friends, and I found out like he was up like $50 million, like playing just high stakes poker and stuff, and he basically retired from poker. And I was like, why would you retire? You made $50 million, and a hedge fund hired him, and he's probably making like 10 million a year working as a hedge fund guy. And that's kind of poker is kind of like a means to an ends, or at least it almost kind of should be. The ones that it's not, um, you know, there, the career earnings is very misleading. I know a lot of poker players that career earnings are in the millions and are broke as a joke. There was actually a famous heads up for the WPT championship with Eric Lindgren and Chino Reem, and they said it was the break even championship heads up because whoever won would finally be a even. Like, because both of them were in such debt. Obviously, you don't. This is poker gossip, but I think he probably made his money, and he kind of sailed off into the sunset. Probably invested like Antonio Esfandiari doesn't play nearly as much as he did, but he's invested in so many businesses. Like that's kind of the goal, right? But you could be it. Why not you?
Why not me, baby? Let's make it happen.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
I played in the main event I've played in the World Series a lot, but like I played in my first main event this year, and it is hands down the most unique poker experience one can have. If you are a poker player and have the ability, like I definitely think it's you instantly feel like you're being a part of history. You see all the faces. The structure from a poker standpoint is phenomenal. Like I literally played the entire day one and didn't really lose, kind of stayed at even the whole day without, I didn't have, a big pair or like any major hands. I actually lost my biggest pot that I lost. I had a full house and the only hand that I could lose to was quads, and I didn't go broke because it was the main,
wow.
So that's what I mean. It's definitely, that's a great one, and I will hopefully be there with you, Mr.
Well, you know what? I'll make sure I have my Aku T-shirt on when I go representing.
I wore my Aku stuff the entire time.
Nice.
So I think for me this year, as far as like travel, I want something random to pop up that I just decide to go. Like I don't know where it is. Like it, if JwowLax calls me up and says I'm going to Cuba, and then I just jump on a plane and go to Cuba and meet you there, or something like that. Like I'd like for it to be a place that I've never been, but it just randomly pops up for me. Because that's my whole moniker. Like, I wrote a book called The Bartending Therapist, and the cover of it is me on this swing off a cliff in the Amazon, and it was in Ecuador. And I literally like booked that trip like 2 days before because I saw that picture, on Instagram, and I was like, I got to go to that place. Like that, I haven't done that in a while, especially with COVID and stuff. So I would like to have that kind of trip again. And then just as a personal goal, my heart really wants to sit there and say I'd like to be able to dunk a basketball again before the end of the year.
Oh wow.
That, but if I put it on record, then I'll feel like I'll have to be accountable. So, but the biggest one is like I want to kind of take like I want to some kind of big pivot this year, like whether it's taking on I've got an opportunity for a job that is definitely kind of out of character for me, and so if that kind of happens, like that would be it's like doing land sale stuff, so like that would be kind of interesting, or potentially just moving out of Los Angeles, but only if there's like a good opportunity. So I'm really kind of keeping my eyes and looking for kind of like a big life pivot this year potentially, or you know what, NFTs go to the moon, and then I have to sell 10,000 chapters, to help taxes or something. Like just be an NFT middleman in Puerto Rico or something like that. Like that would be the dream. So, yeah. Well, let's do some closing thoughts. So, JwowLax, you want to your closing thoughts on 2022?
Yeah, in terms of Aku, it was literally a wild ride, right? We've seen the actual highest of the highs and the actual lowest of the lows within like days of each other, which I find phenomenal. But overall, and I think what did I? It was what interview did Micah do that we talked about? Which one was that, Jason?
With the first mint.
Draymond Green, or
Yes. It was the first men, and it kind of rekindled why I feel the way I do. And what it was is the first mint, or LG asked Micah, so hey, like when you were a baseball player and you were converting to being an artist, like how did you know you were going to be successful? And Micah said, with all seriousness, like I just know it. Like there's just no other way. And I feel that Micah approaches Aku in the same manner. So I know we have some critical things to say today, but I remain as confident as ever, and I really do believe in Micah's ability to kind of steer the ship and get us where we need to be. So overall, I do expect 2023 to maybe be a quiet year. Again, we talked about some of the macro factors needed to be successful, but hopefully we can get more communication out. But overall, I still remain pretty bullish with the project.
yeah, I mean, I'm still bullish too. I guess closing thoughts for 2022 from an Aku perspective is there's been a lot of lessons this year, and those lessons are valuable. And if the team can learn from those lessons and execute, we're gonna have a great year. That's it, right? So that's what I'm really looking forward to in 2023 as we close out 2022.
So this time last year, my mentality for 2022 was survive. Like I actually didn't believe we would have nearly the roller coaster that we had. We've always kind of been like kind of chugging, and it's like, man, we kind of skyrocketed and then came down. Like I kind of felt we were on the lazy river, not on Space Mountain. But that's changed. So my whole goal this for 2022 was just kind of get here, and I believe 2023 was kind of actually the year that things were going to really start forming and bigger things were going to happen. So really, I'm kind of still on the same course. So I'm hoping that I was right a year ago, and of course, I wish I had taken a little bit more profits in the spring last year. But my overall vision was 2023 was kind of going to be really what separates us and puts us apart. So that's where I'm kind of hoping. To your point about Micah, yeah, like we've been hard today, but I think that this is more valuable. Iron sharpens iron. Like you need friction. It can't like the last thing Micah and the team need is just and we see it sometimes. It's just that like constant cheerleading, like I have this concern, but whatever you guys decide is great, and I know it's the best. Not always. Like we might this trio we have here might not know the best thing, but is the more concern and thoughtful criticism that we can bring to the front can only help. Like because none of us are fighting. We're not bashing the project. We're putting our Aramunu is literally putting his money where his mouth is. Like we are three of the biggest holders really in the space. We're definitely 1%, and you two guys are probably in the top 10. So I think it's very important, just like we bring back to that locker room. We don't want to be the Knicks, or to kind of knock Indiana, the Indiana Pacers. We want to be the Celtics, the Lakers. Well, maybe not the Lakers this year, but we want to be a championship caliber team. And Mike is Kobe, and we gotta be tough sometimes. But overall, it's been one hell of a year, and it's been a lot of fun doing this podcast. I like to think that we've had some amazing guests, and we've really gotten to see a lot of different sides of the community, but also just having a real conversation. Like with Twitter Spaces, a lot of times I think there's a lot of minutia. You know, it's just kind of people sitting on their couch and they don't really know what to talk about. But every podcast that we've had, I think, has had a clear direction and brought up some interesting key points that Mike is probably not listening, you know, but the community is definitely so. Closing words, gentlemen. Not all at once.
I don't want to speak over JwowLax all the time, so I'm gonna let him have the floor.
No, I just think it's a good to kind of have, and collectively we have conversations behind the scenes, and I believe everything we've talked about today is a clear sentiment of the community. So to have this in an open forum to kind of have everybody get a chance to speak, I think it's a great thing. So I look forward to the feedback we get from this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm just I'm grateful at the end of the day for you guys, for the community, and like you know, within the Moon Gods or the Aku community, just like the people have always been the most amazing. And this year, even though there's been a lot of price fluctuations, the people have just been awesome. And I think both of you are like two of the smartest guys that I've ever met. And we talk about what's going on with Aku, and we go deep in the ecosystem and what's going on. I'm just like really grateful for that. And I think at the end of the day, no matter what happens in the world or to NFT prices, it's always about the human connection. So I feel really blessed to have built a deeper connection with the both of you. So looking forward to that and more of that in 2023.
Absolutely. Well, for JwowLax and Aramunu, we're going to close out the door on 2022. We hope your holidays are blessed and you have a safe New Year's. And we plan to be back on Thursday, the first Thursday in 2023. That's the goal. So with that said, as always, like, comment, share, you know, spread the word. Aku is a movement, not just an NFT PFP. So get the word out, help us, and we'll help you. For now, we will see you next time.